All right. Good afternoon, ladies. We're going to do the next shout out to review those last two tournaments and talk about a couple noticeables, as a result of some plays and different things that happen. So in my mind, all of this stuff has been progressive, and we're really starting to look like a solid team all the way through. So today's shout out, I'm going to burn down through stats, okay? Stats from those last two tournaments, and then kind of session or year to date, from the beginning till now, kind of where we're at. Just a quick rundown. And then I'm going to go over a handful of talking points. And then I snuck in another errors review for a few of you because I want to discuss some of those situations. And honestly, want another girl to be able to hear again, like how I would address those errors or what I would say to you. So I think we've done really good as a team. If you guys don't watch these, it doesn't hurt my feelings at all. This is a labor of love. So I'm not after views. I'm not after anything other than trying to put content together that can help summarize, some of the different things that we've been through. And, if one or two players are watching these and getting something out of it, then that's good enough for me. So anyway, you guys that are watching, appreciate that, and don't hesitate to give me any feedback as well. I don't know how to tailor these unless I hear back from y'all. So anyway, here we go. That tournament as a whole, we didn't really hit as good as I'd liked us to have hit, but we did okay. I mean, the team average was 285. We went 5-5, and for the most part, we just kind of stayed right in the middle with hitting. So I think anytime you're right in the middle, you're going to have an opportunity to win or lose the game. And if you look at our record at 5-5, well, that's right in the middle. So the last two tournament batting average leaders, Shay's at 471, Fry's at 400, Mia and Brooklyn are at 333, Chloe is at 313, and Davis wraps that up at 300. So, again, all those numbers there are good. That's above 275. Anything consistently in the threes and in the fours is really good. So, great job. Hits registered, Shay, you lead the pack with 8 and a home run, so 2 claps there. Ellie and Chloe at 5, Winner at 4, and then Catherine, Emma, and Fergie all have registered 3 hits in that tournament. Or I say that tournament, but those 2 tournaments. Okay. RBIs, Shay, you had 7, Winner 6, Catherine 5, Fergie 4, Brooklyn, Lacey, and Ellie all tied for 3. Stolen bases, Chloe, you had 7. Catherine and Ellie, you had 5. Lacey, you had 3. And I think all 3 of you were also all at 100%. So good job. So that's kind of the offensive leaderboard, if you will, for those 2 tournaments. Just glancing over this real quick, I can tell you that those girls that are leading that list, I see them working. I know they're putting in a lot of hard work. So, there's something to be said about your work ethic and the realization that there is no substitute for hard work. So, keep that in mind. Stay motivated. Flipping over to defense, our fielding percentage as a team was 932. So we played good enough defense to win games for the most part. We had some untimely errors that kind of slit our throat a little bit there, and then we didn't again hit the ball in the 325 to 350 range, but 932, we only had 11 errors on 162 total chances. So 2 claps to us as a team for maintaining that mid 900 fielding percentage. Catherine and Winner both had double plays, 2 claps there. Catherine, I still remember yours like it happened 10 minutes ago. I mean, you coach and dream of those scenarios when the ball gets hit to you kind of somewhat hot, runners crossing your face, tag. Anyway, it was good. Good stuff. Keep it up. Here's the fielding percentage leaders. Okay, just went with 875, which is our standard number. Anybody above that got a shout out. So for those two tournaments, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 girls that finished at 1,000 fielding percentage. So no errors, obviously. And those total chances on those girls, 6 girls, range from 1 total chance all the way to 37. Chloe had 37 total chances with no errors. So, great job to Chloe, and a testament to her work ethic, because beginning of the season, she dipped down into the 700s, and, I thought her world was going to end, but it didn't. She kept working. She stayed consistent, had a couple, outstanding or stellar performances, and bam, here she is. All right, Fergie, you are next after that group of thousands at 933. Catherine behind her at 900. KK finishes the list right at the cutoff at 875. So good job, overall in that tournament. Really not much else to kind of discuss there on the defensive side. As far as pitchers go, we didn't really talk about this or analyze it. I just kind of pulled up some of the stats and just kind of wanted to notate a few things. Catherine, you led us with innings pitched at 12.2, Winner at 11.2, Davis with 5. Number of pitches, Catherine 183, Winner 203, Davis 114. Strikeouts, Catherine 1, Winner 19, Davis 7. Okay, here's walks. Now, don't anybody get offended here. Like, I'm not picking on anybody. We're going to talk about it all. But Catherine, you had 11. Winner, you had 5. Davis, you had 8. Okay, like, if you have more walks than you want, most of the time, that's some sort of, mental something you can iron out. So, Catherine, if you're not happy with, 11 walks and only 1 strikeout, I would continue to tell you, you just got to keep settling in, I don't know if nerves are still a big issue for you or not, but I think that's going to really be your next cheat code is, if you feel like you're struggling, figure out a way to throw it over the plate and let them hit it kind of deal. So, nothing big there. I know you're working. You put in a lot of work. Appreciate that. So stay at it. Winner, your your ERA ended up at 1.2 with a .943 whip. So really good stuff. Okay, now for just a quick rundown on where we're at, like, to date, from day one, accruing all the stats, all the tournaments up to today. We have a 12-9-1 record. Our batting average is 340, and our fielding percentage is 900. So speaks testaments to all the hard work and things that we've been harping and hounding on, and y'all putting, some work in and fixing those things and tightening up and taking all of the criticism and meeting the high expectations. I mean, these really good stats. So the batting average leaders, I drew a line at 400, okay? I mean, normally we're at 275, but y'all are doing decent. So we've got 3 of them above 400. Shay, you lead at 415. Chloe behind her at 410. And Brooklyn comes in third at 400. Hits registered. Shay, this looks good here. I think it was very similar to like this last session. Shay, you have 17. Chloe 16. Ellie 15. And then Winner and Catherine are both tied for 11. So, big hitters up there. RBIs. Catherine and Shay tied at 14. Winner's got 10. KK and Ellie have 9. Oh, come on, guys. Single digits, only 9. Let's go. Stolen bases. Chloe was 16. No surprise there. Ellie was 7. She needs to step it up big time. And then Catherine and Shay coming in at 5. I'm just messing with you guys. Fielding percentage. Emma, Ellie, and Miranda are all still at 1,000. So the shout out, there's a couple layers to this defensive shout out part, but the shout out for the first shout out is, 2 claps for hanging on to 1,000. Anytime you can do that, for an extended period of time throughout a season, it speaks to a few different things. So great job, girls. 2 claps there. But I want to tell y'all that most of y'all are in the 900s, okay? I'm not going to go through and list everybody out because there's a ton of you, but the majority of us are in the 900s, which means that only, 4 or 5 of you, or let's say 30% of our team is below 875, which means that 3/4 of our team is above 875. So that's a really, really good testament to y'all's work and being able to perform, when your number's called. So look, those are great numbers. So, okay, we're done with the stats. I'm going to run down through some talkables. And, what's kind of funny about this is I hesitated even bringing this up, but I actually made this last night and thought it was perfect. It was about 42 minutes long, and I do them on my phone, and my phone said I didn't have enough storage, and so I went through this process of trying to create storage, and I got mad, selected all, forgot to untap the first one, which was my video, boom. Then I even went a step further, went into the trash or recycle bin and emptied that before I realized. So anyway, I'm trying to go a little bit faster, come in about 30 minutes. This is a list of some of my general thoughts, okay, an errors review, and then a little bit of just kind of an informal, formal discussion about some of these topics. And I just want to tell you girls that, we're going to talk about a couple things that happened in this tournament that, in the moment had some heat to them and some passion. But look, that's why we do this. So the mature and responsible and caring thing to do on both people's end, players and coaches, is to always be able to come back and talk about things without the emotion so that we can learn, restructure, grow, like whatever we need to do. So y'all know that I love every single one of you like daughters and have your true best interests in mind. So, I like to talk about all of this stuff just so, we feel like we've covered it all. I'm not trying to set everybody up. It's not going to be brutal, but, just to summarize. So, in general, okay, coming off of the stats review, we are still susceptible to a small ball attack, and we got to fix that. It happened twice to us by the same team in the same fashion. They punched us in the mouth or pressed us, and they pressed us for a continued amount of time, and then we broke. So, one of the things I want to narrate about that is that's a behavior pattern, okay? Anytime you consistently make the same type of error, it speaks to a behavior pattern somewhere in your game. And our behavior pattern shows that if we're pressed hard enough or long enough, we're still showing the susceptibility of breaking or cracking. So the coach part of this is telling y'all that you have to treat practice like a game. And I know for a fact that there's a large degree of y'all that go through practice at 85%, and you are okay with that. And, the majority of the time, you can get away with that, right? But when you're pressed hard for a long period of time, 85% in practice doesn't get it, because you may have to get to 100 or 105, and you don't even know how to operate up there. And I think that's what happens to us every once in a while when we get, like, really, really, really ambushed, if you will, on small ball. So notate that. Come to practice and practice at 100%. I'm not saying that every throw has to be at 105%, but when we do the drill where we hit the shortstop and throw it around, like when you're playing that position and we're hitting you those short ones, you got to be charging at 157% in practice 4, 5, 6, 7 times so that you can remember what that feels like in a game and still make the throw. So anyway, moving on. We did do a good job of minimizing damage. There's a couple points to this one here. We did a good job of minimizing damage where we realized, the ball was hit to the outfield. We had runners on base, and we didn't chase runners or whatever. I think Winter did one time, but she quickly realized it, regretted it, owned her mistake or whatever. Excuse me. And we talked about that, so no big deal. But, I mean, in general, we weren't throwing the ball around a lot, chasing runners. So minimizing damage is something that I see us getting better with, which speaks to us maturing our IQ. And the second thing about that was, I don't know why, but you specific group of girls have had a little bit of trouble like being able to own your mistakes. And I saw Winner and a bunch of other girls do it in this tournament. So I feel like we finally are to the point where, you know, you guys can let your guards down and start owning those. Because when you own the mistake and then move on, it's hard to get mad at someone when they admit fault, right? So if you do that, it does a lot of things, changes the way that, you know, the negative energy feeds into the situation. So thank you guys for doing that. The next one I have labeled attitude, body language, and approach. And in parentheses, that can also be described as your personal presentation. And we, you know, talked about that, so we all kind of know and understand what that term means. But some things that I'm noticing still kind of at this point in the season, and then just through our actual progression, is in certain scenarios we're having difficulty or trouble like maintaining mentally. We're either too intense or we're not intense enough. There are mistakes that we're making as a result of us not being more mentally disciplined, which then starts affecting like our actual behavior as an athlete. One of the things I've noticed is like batters, okay? Some of y'all still have trouble simply not reacting to an absolutely terrible strike call that was, you know, out. You couldn't even have got to it anyway. And, you know, instead of just stepping out of the box with one foot, squeezing the heck out of your bat, giving me some sort of smirk, because you and I both know that wasn't a strike, and getting back in the box and attacking the next pitch, some of you guys are reacting so negatively with your body language, antics, and all this other stuff that the very next trash pitch that comes in that's at your eyes, you're chopping wood and striking out. And then, you know, even more on the way to the dugout sometimes. And again, we're talking about splitting hairs here. So I'm not talking about gross negligent behavior. We're an elevated team. You girls are elevated. But I'm picking apart nuances here, okay? So I'm not giving anybody the baby stamp. But what I'm telling you is you have to be better with your mind frame. It's got to be tougher. You know, you got to be able to process that pitch was clearly a ball, but he called it a strike. You can't argue that, and you got a job to do. If you can do that, then your at-bats become more successful. So stop making your jobs hard because you're too selfish and you want to throw, you know, like a pity party. And pitchers, you too. There is nothing more nauseating for me. I'm not picking or calling any of our pitchers out, right? Our team, my team, the next team, any team. When a girl's in the circle throwing, and, you know, we all know umpires can be terrible or they can be awesome. And a girl's throwing to a terrible umpire and she doesn't get the strike call. Look, the crowd's going to let you know if it was a strike or not for the most part. So you as a pitcher, you don't need any antics. But when I see girls, you know, all this other kind of stuff and like, oh my God, it's nauseating. And I'll guarantee you the recruiter thinks the same thing. So think about that. You know, the flip side, the other side of this is being too intense when you're doing something, okay? And CeeLo, I love you, but I'm going to pick on you a little bit here. CeeLo had an at-bat where I don't know if she was just so focused and intense, but she never ended up looking at me one time over at third. And I think she saw maybe 4 or 5 pitches or whatever. And, you know, it's at the end of the day, it didn't matter. It doesn't matter. We're just going back to address that, right, without any type of emotional frustration or whatever there. But for me, it looked like she was so dialed in and ready to go to war that she, you know, forgot that there was a third base coach over there or whatever. I don't know. But I'm just telling you guys in general, we got to be able to find the balance through all of this, okay? And that's what separates the good players from the great players, is the great players can stay mentally tough when the good players break. Because the great players know that the brain is what makes the body do what it needs to do, and more importantly, when it needs to do it. So I think the sooner you girls can continue, and that's the hardest part of your game to work on, is the mindset, your mind frame, because there's no glory in that. Sometimes it hurts not being able to feed into a reaction, but the sooner you can get over that, the better off you'll be with the end result overall. So No hard feelings there. Those are just a few things that I've noticed, okay? And then this next one's kind of something similar to that, but, I want to discuss max effort. You guys hear that term all the time. Your coaches hold you accountable to it. It's always something that we talk about being measured by. And I just want to give you my thoughts about max effort and how it displays itself figuratively and literally, like in softball for us. So in softball, lack of effort exposes itself the most when you're running the bases, and more notably, the run to first base. There are a lot of things that can showcase whether you're giving 100% effort or not, but there is nothing that does it more than that run from home plate to first base, because it's the first thing that you see. It's where all the action is necessary. There's a big what if at the end of that. So you may have never ever seen a girl run before a day in your life, but when you watch a girl, any girl, when you watch a girl run from home to first, you can tell if a girl is giving max effort or not. Okay, and again, we've got our big girl panties on here, so I am not picking on anybody. Every single one of you at some point in time have been the subject of this conversation, and you learned from it, you were embarrassed by it, or whatever the metrics were, but you didn't ever let that or allow that to happen again. That's what we want. So me talking about max effort and this run to first base, Emma, I think there was a play in one of the games, that got everybody hot and bothered. And again, there's no emotion here. So I'm coming back and just saying, I don't know if that play applies to you or not, right? And the only reason I bring your name up in the contents of talking about this is, look, if you're an athlete, not you specifically, Emma, but everybody now, if you're an athlete, you know whether or not you gave 100% effort or not. And what I want to talk to you guys about here is that the run to first base is a deeper representation of who you are. The run to first base should say a few things about you, directly and indirectly. And I would be surprised if I'm wrong, but I bet you could get a scholarship based on your run to first base and also lose a scholarship based on that run to first base. So you never want to be caught in a position where you're not giving max effort on the first base run, because that's the first thing that a recruiter is going to look at. And you may have done max effort 99 times, and on the 100th you didn't, and that's where the recruiter was. So you just have to, it's not about the drama of the situation of the recruiter being there. For me, this is a deeper conversation about you have to live your life in a manner that and are committed to giving 100% max effort when you're supposed to, okay? So like individual sports, you want to give 85% and you don't get the win, that's on you. But when you sign up to be on a team sport and your number's called and you're involved in the play and you don't give max effort and the outcome is less than desirable, or the play changed, then we now have a greater opportunity. But because we weren't at max effort, we don't get to take advantage of that newly created opportunity. That's not a good place to be in either. So the challenge here to all of y'all is run to first base the best you can for the rest of your life, okay? It doesn't matter what you're doing. Do it the best. And just know that in softball, that's an action item that will help everybody in the stands. And we've talked about this before, like we should be able to hear the footsteps building, right? And there's some things to say. I'm not talking about miles per hour, okay? One person's max effort may be catastrophically slow to the next person's max effort. Again, I am not talking about miles per hour. I'm talking about percentage of effort, okay? So as an athlete, you have to be good at holding yourself accountable, even when you think you know the outcome of the play, to give max effort. And then that starts to speak to, some stronger concepts that are really built in at the foundational level. And look, ladies, I'm not making this stuff up, but that's what gets recruited, okay? Max effort gets recruited. So think about that. Let me see here. You know, the max effort concept can also be looked at as a form of like letting everybody else down, right? And I don't care where it happens on the field, but in general, the cheat code to all of this and the cheat code to being the best teammate possible is realizing that by you not giving max effort when you're supposed to, you letting everybody else down. And when you can truly understand and digest that concept and realize that, that's another line of accountability that you're able to impose on yourself. So, you know, you want to be able to be dependable, right? That's kind of the last little note I had on that. In life, that's how you become successful. You know, you got to be dependable. You got to give max effort, and people and things and situations around you start to expect that you're going to give max effort, and you'll create opportunity for yourself. It's the very same thing in softball. So the reason we play these competitive sports is because some of y'all may never swing a bat again after high school, but by you being on this college prep team and us holding you to these same principles, you will be successful in life because you'll understand how to operate, knowing what max effort is. So anyway, yeah, recruiters want that. Last thing here, there's a ton of softball programs. Okay, quick note. Not all y'all are going to go to A&M or Tech or UT or wherever the softball school is. But my point is, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of college softball programs. And there's levels for everybody. Junior college, you know, D3, D2, D1, all the things that filter in, NAIA. So if you really want to play college softball, pay attention to this stuff because you have that opportunity. The scholarship and all that stuff is on you. Financial aid is on you. But my point is, if you want to play softball, it doesn't have to be a pipe dream. You can do that, okay? So stay motivated. Just a couple more things here. I'm going to do the errors review, okay? Again, girls, you know I love you. Mia, you're first. I have you listed down in this error sense because I saw you freeze up at 2. Emma charged the ball, got the ball, turned around, and, you know, the island was empty. So I guess what I mean by that is the error, in my opinion, you need to be held accountable. All of you do, but I'm using Mia as the example. If I'm talking to her off to the side, what I'm telling her is I need you to be more mentally disciplined, because the reality is until you have had enough reps that you build the deep muscle memory, you need to be asking yourself 2 questions before every pitch. When the pitch is getting called in and you're there at 2, you need to be asking yourself, if I get hit the ball, where am I going with the ball? Second question is, if she gets hit the ball, what do I do? Or if the ball is hit over there, do I go over there? If you don't ask yourself those 2 questions, you're working against it and you're just a warm body on payroll. The more you ask yourself those repetitive questions, you're building the muscle memory that you at some point can rely on instinct. You don't have to think and process. But until you get to that point of basic natural instincts, you have to force the monotonous question of those things to train that muscle memory. So I want everybody to take note of that. We need to be doing that pre-pitch. Lacey, love you to death. You know I do. But your errors, okay, and this is constructive criticism, the style of your error is starting to become the same. An errant throw when we're pressed harder than we're normally pressed, okay? And so what I do as a coach is sit back and analyze the types of errors that we're making. I see you making the same type of error. It leads me to believe that this is a behavioral problem, meaning you're just not getting enough reps. And you're not getting enough reps at a high intensity. Look, I know volleyball is happening right now, so I can't sit here and say you need to give less to volleyball and more to softball. But what I can say is you girls need to hold yourselves accountable. I know for a fact y'all have more discretionary or free time than you think you do. And you could be working on these things. And maybe you're Maybe you're okay with those errors, okay? I'm not saying that I'm okay with them. I'm just telling you why I believe those errors are happening. And again, that ball is 100% in your court, okay? So take that on the chin, just understand where I'm coming from. No big deal. All right, CeeLo. This one here, okay? I love you. I don't think we loved each other for 5 or 10 or 15 minutes, maybe at the end of that game. That's fine. That's what this is all about. Sports, player and coach interactions during the heat of battle should never have some sort of negative effect on you after. So I wanted to wait a couple weeks, get past all this, and come back and address this. But Chloe, I have you listed down in the error category because I want to talk about that ambush situation. Okay, and I just want to lay out my thoughts as a coach in that scenario. I call it ambush. It's our one called play where we're depending upon multiple things to happen. Everything else is basically a singular transaction call. So again, we only have one play. I have asked everyone numerous times, and specifically over the course of those 2 weeks or weekends, we addressed the play call thing, 5 times, and everybody, yep, I got it, we're good, no questions, yeah, whatever. So when I hear that over and over and over again, it really gives me a high degree of confidence that we literally have zero margin of error because we understand this. And I called ambush, and I can't remember who we had on first base, maybe Lacey or somebody. But at the end of the day, I was picking up on some things from the shortstop and third base. I had a fast girl in the box, a fast girl on first base. We weren't hitting the ball to save our lives at all in general. Chloe is a phenomenal contact batter. So I called ambush, and as the pitch comes in, I'm expecting to see the bunt to third because first base is ambushing third. If first base is safe, great, but what we're trying to do is get in a scoring position. And in Chloe's defense, I think she may, have been in a position where she didn't understand that her performance in the box was directly related to what the runner was doing. And here's what I would tell you guys, softly, respectfully, but that's on you because everything on this card does have a definition. And we've went over this stuff numerous times. So the challenge there is, you have to understand that the coaches are going to be passionate about this stuff. And the reason that there was frustration that had kind of compounded at that point is we weren't hitting the ball. She hit a pop fly to center, okay, out. So we got the out, didn't advance the base runner at all. And so the outcome of all of that miscue was like a net negative. So, and yes, did I scream out a really, really, really loud curse word? Absolutely. Am I apologizing for that? No way, because that's me. I'm passionate, and I think Chloe and all you girls know I'm never coming at your soul, okay? Now, I will apologize if that whole interaction made you feel some kind of way, but I need you guys to know something. Like, I can be passionate. I put a lot of time and effort into this, right? So my job as a teacher becomes frustrating when you don't feel like the students are listening or learning. And I don't mean any offense by that. I'm just trying to explain why I get passionate. So, at the end of the day, I think it's good that we're able to go back and talk and run through these scenarios. But I want to tell you guys something, like at the next level, they're coaching for their jobs. And so if you don't think that the environment is going to be a little bit more intense, the expectations are going to be greater, the demand is going to be stronger, you're living a fairy tale. And what I mean by that is, like right now, y'all are paying me. Your parents are paying us, or paying the organization to come and play, and I'm not making a dime. So, and we're working through this, right? And there's whatever level of expectation. At the next level, that coach, he or she, is coaching for their job. So don't think for 1 minute that they're not entitled to chew your ass however they feel necessary. Don't look at how you're getting the ass chewing. Just listen to what the ass chewing consists of. That's the cheat code. Maybe it's uncomfortable for some of you, but I'm just telling you, like, when you get to the next level, it's a dog eat dog, shark eat shark world, and the coaches are paid and they're coaching for their job. So you have to be able to operate and see your coach have some antics, because the coaches aren't necessarily held accountable to the exact same standard that the athlete is. So I'm not picking on Chloe. I love her. This whole conversation is not about Chloe. It's about me talking about, why I'm doing the things that I'm doing, and it's okay. And y'all need to make sure you continue to get better at separating the emotion from those interactions, okay? So, no big deal. In closing, that fight with the smoke happened or whatever. She probably shouldn't even should said their name, but I really don't care. I just want to give my 10 cents on that. Like, I went back and watched it 100 times. We've talked about it as coaches. And, it kind of clearly looks like to us that the base runner comes through, grabs the catcher's arm to distract the catch, right? Because there's going to be a play at the plate. Then the catcher responds with a malicious two-handed push down, and then girl gets up and, whatever, takes it to the next level. At the end of the day, I don't want to get caught here on camera just, stating my beliefs. But what I would tell you about that as a coach is this. Neither one of those two athletes impressed me. And we can talk about who incited who and all these other things. But look, if you're a catcher and the girl grabs your arm, this is just my opinion, this is how I would parent Ellie, is what that girl doing malicious? Yeah, absolutely. But there's an umpire in place to make that call. And if we don't get it, we don't resort to some sort of physical violence because we don't have enough self-control physically to understand I got cheated, okay? And this is not in the context of defending yourself. That fight was 1,000% ridiculous and probably ruined opportunities for both of those girls long term, believe it or not. So for me, what I want you to understand is if we were talking about protecting yourself, somebody's jumping you in the parking lot, this conversation goes a lot different. But we're talking about operating in an environment that requires some poise. And if you don't have it, I'm not impressed with you, and I don't want you on my team, okay? So that's kind of my thoughts on that fight. However, if one of our players, for whatever reason, ends up getting into a physical fight with the other team, you 8 had better get your ass over to that girl in 2.2 seconds and get her out of there and form a circle of protection around her and migrate over to our dugout. That's the true responsibility of the teammate, okay? So I didn't want to say that. Anyway, hope you guys are doing your push-ups and sit-ups, okay? I can tell if you're not doing them, so if you think you're faking me out, you're not. Work hard at those, okay? We've got a tournament coming up in College Station. We have a few practices left before that. I would love to see high attendance, and actually cannot wait for that. So, love you guys. Bye.